is my pleasure to introduce to you Mr. Nathan Fletcher, the senior, that's fine. Mr. Fletcher is the Senior Director of Corporate Development for Qualcomm, and he is a mayoral candidate, and we're here to hear his remarks today. Mr. Fletcher is the Senior Director of Corporate Development for Qualcomm Incorporated. In this role, he helps lead corporate citizenship and business initiatives globally, bringing his more than 16 years of experience in government and international development to help identify and expand opportunities where technology has the power to positively transform people's lives. He also serves as professor at the University of California, San Diego, where he teaches political science. Prior to these positions, Nathan was a member of the California State Assembly who represented the 75th District. He was the first combat veteran of the global war on terror elected to the California State Legislature. As Assemblyman Fletcher, he was consistently rated one of the most effective and hardest working legislators in California and has been honored as Legislator of the Year by diverse groups such as Biocom, Tech America, Veteran of Foreign War, Crime Victims United, the Black Chamber of Commerce, among many others. The focus of this year's Urban League Diversity Summit has been on education, so we're glad to have someone who is an educator to be a part of this and to share some thoughts with us today. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Nathan Fletcher. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Oh, come on now. You don't have food coma. Yeah, good afternoon. Much better. So when I was invited, probably a couple months ago, I immediately accepted. At the time, I was just a hardworking member of the team at Qualcomm and a teacher at UCSD. And my, how the last 5 weeks change everything. I forget somebody said it was a Chinese proverb. I think it was a Chinese curse that said, "May you be blessed to live in interesting times." And the last few months in San Diego certainly have been interesting. As a candidate for mayor, I was actually talking to my mom recently, and she reminded me of a story that a few of you may have heard, and it came from the day I actually announced for the California State Assembly. It was 2006. I was a Marine Corps veteran who had come back and had decided, having learned how compromise in marriage works, that was what got me into the assembly. I came back from missing 3 or 4 years of my marriage with my wife, and she said, "What are you going to do next?" And I said, "I know exactly what I'm going to do." And she said, "What's that?" I said, "I'm going to stay in the Marine Corps and go to Afghanistan." My wife said, "No." She said, "You're going to get out of the Marine Corps, and you're going to stay in San Diego." I said, "No." I said, "I'm the man in this relationship." I said, I'm the decider in this family." And she said, "Well, let's talk about it." And we did for about 45 seconds. And then I decided, I decided to get out of the Marine Corps and to stay in San Diego. And she said, "Find some other way to serve." And I said, I came out of a service family. My dad was a factory worker who became a police officer, which is service. My mom runs shelters for battered women and children. In our family, you use your energy and effort to make a difference in the lives of others. And so I decided I would run for the state assembly. And so I announced. I had no idea what I was doing. I announced. And the first day was kind of fun. We had a couple TV cameras do a story, and a reporter called. And that evening, I was on the phone with my mom, and I was begging her for her support. At the time, my mom was a passionate member of the other political party. And she told me, I was on the phone with her, and I said, "Well, Mom, you'd vote for me, right?" And it was just silent. And she said, "Son, I'm convinced you're a stolen baby." I said, "Mom, we look like each other." And she said, "It's just a coincidence, boy." She said, "I know I did not give birth to a Republican." It ends up she was right. She didn't, and she was one of the proudest ones when I changed parties. But as I was on the phone with her years ago, talking to her about my assembly run, the line clicked on the other line. I said, "Hold on a second, Mom," and I clicked over, and this guy came on the phone. He said, "This is Robert with the Marine Corps Times. May I speak to a Mr. Nathan Fletcher, please?" And I said, "Oh, of course, of course." And for those of you that served, Reverend Brown there served in the Marine Corps, he knows the Marine Corps Times is a publication that everyone in the Marine Corps reads. And I said, "Mom, I've got to go. I've got a reporter on the other line. I'm very important now, Mom." I said, "He wants to do a story about me." And she said, "Okay, I'm proud of you, son." And she said, "Call me back." And so I clicked over to the other line. As I clicked over, I was already down the road. I was thinking about, the quote I would use or what I would try and say with this reporter. And I remember thinking I wouldn't get on the cover of the Marine Corps Times because that's for like the president or commandant or generals. But they have these 3 little boxes across the top, and I thought, boy, I bet if I do it right, maybe I'll get my picture in one of those boxes, and all my buddies will see me all over the world, all the Marines. And so I clicked over and I said, "Robert, I'm sorry to keep you waiting. Nathan Fletcher, candidate for the California State Assembly, combat veteran, United States Marine Corps. What can I do for you, sir?" And he said, "No, Mr. Fletcher, the question is what I can do for you if you renew your subscription today." I did renew for 2 years, and I often say I got a great lesson out of the gate about staying humble, and that certainly doesn't change as you go throughout your life. You stay humble. But I do think in a lot of ways, a lot of the experiences I've had, whether they be in the Marine Corps, whether they be in the State Assembly, whether it be teaching at UCSD or certainly working at Qualcomm, have in a lot of ways prepared us for what I see as the opportunity of the future. And I think that there's a real challenge as we move forward to make a decision. Are we going to unite communities? Are we going to unite people behind a shared purpose as a city? Or are we going to continue the same divisions and the same battles and the same arguments of the past? And for me, I refuse to let the future of San Diego be tied to the gridlock that we see paralyzing Washington, D.C. I believe that there's a better way forward. I believe that there is a different way forward. And I think there's a huge opportunity over the next decade in San Diego, and in particular over the time that the next mayor will inhabit the office, to begin addressing some issues that people 40 or 50 years will look back and say that group of people at that time, they got it right. They talked about the things that need to be addressed. They had an entire brand new group of folks who were a part of the conversation. And in order to do that, that means a real conversation about addressing things like the inequities we've seen in investments in our neighborhood. It means addressing things like the lack of economic opportunity for so many folks who are out there, being serious about things like response times and public safety. And the bulk of what we want to talk about today, for my remarks, is the opportunities that ought to be available to every child in the realm of education. And as you go through life, your perspectives evolve and change and grow. I am a father. I have a 5-year-old son and a 2-year-old son. And when you have your own kids, it begins to change how you view things like public education. You begin to think differently about it. It takes on a much more personal and very real impact. I realize that my son, this is his only year he has for kindergarten. He doesn't get to wait out the recession. He doesn't get to wait until funding levels come back. This is his one shot. And when you put it in that perspective, you understand why we have to have a commitment to funding all of our schools. We have to have a real commitment to make sure that every child in every single neighborhood has that cornerstone of access to the American dream, which is a quality education. And I think, let me talk on this for just a second in terms of the American dream, because having traveled all over the world, this is one of the things that makes us unique. It makes us unique as a country. It makes us unique as a society. And there's nothing in the American dream that promises equality of outcome. Not everybody gets the same car or the same house. There's nothing that promises you equality of outcome. There's nothing in the American dream that even promises you equality of ease. As the first one in my family to go to college, it was a little bit harder for me. In high school, I got up at 4 a.m. every morning and cleaned a movie theater as a janitor before school so I could help out in the family. In college, I drove forklifts in a lumber yard. I'd go to class with sawdust in my hair. It was a little bit harder, but that's okay. There's nothing that guarantees that it's going to be equally easy for everyone. It'll be easier for my boys than it was for me, and that's what we want. But the basic part of the American dream says that there is an equality of access, which means that every child, regardless of what neighborhood they're born into, regardless of what their parents did, regardless of their income, every child has access to the American dream, and that access starts with a quality public education that affords all of our children the opportunity to find success in life. And that has to be the cornerstone of so many of our efforts when we're talking about addressing the inequity that's out there. One of the most widely accepted realities in today's world is the gender and racial inequity in science, technology, engineering, and math education in STEM fields. African American, American Indians, and Latinos account for 34% of the U.S. population in the age range of 18 to 24. They account for 34% of the population, but they only account for 12% of those graduating with engineering degrees. And the numbers get bleaker for advanced degrees. Women account for nearly half of the U.S. labor force, but account for just 10% of engineers. Why does this inequity in STEM education matter? There's a few reasons. First off, in the last 4 years of an economic recovery, we've seen the average hourly wages of American workers go down. The average hourly wages have gone down while we've been in an economic recovery. But this is important because over the last decade, the growth in STEM jobs has been 3 times as fast as the growth in non-STEM jobs. These workers command higher wages. Those that are in science, technology, engineering, and math, on average, earn 26% more than their non-STEM counterparts. These are the jobs of the future. These are the jobs that are going to provide growth, they're going to provide innovation, they're going to provide the wages you need where you can buy a home. You can put your children in college. You can retire with some financial security. STEM occupations are projected to grow at almost twice the rate of non-STEM occupations over the next 5 years. It's also an economic competitiveness and sustainability issue. Working at Qualcomm, we don't have a problem recruiting the best and brightest engineers from all over America and all over the world, but there is a shortage of those folks coming out of our local communities and our local populations, and there's a serious shortage of STEM workers nationwide. And if we don't address that issue, we will continue to fall behind as a country, as a state, and as a city. And it's not just a computer programmer with an advanced degree who's making a microchip. A lot of what we're talking about are manufacturing jobs that are just of a higher skill. You see things like precision welding, some computer-animated design. These are the opportunities that are out there for folks like my dad, whose factory was closed, who could have been retrained in a little bit higher skill work and put back into the modern workforce with the way to do it. These workers often don't even have to earn college degrees to play a huge and important role in our economy. But we do have to commit ourselves to vocational education and to workforce readiness and workforce training that is available to everyone who is out there. A lot of these workers are what the Brookings Institute calls the hidden STEM economy. They're there. They're available. They're able to do it. We just have to have training programs that match the needs. A lot of these jobs are actually found in the largest sector of the San Diego economy, which is our defense industry. There is a huge opportunity for a growth in that field for high caliber, high wage, high paying jobs. And it is important for us as a society to try and address these. If we don't figure out how to engage women and minorities in STEM education and careers, we will continue to lose our edge around the world. It's vitally important for a whole host of reasons. In my work at Qualcomm, we're trying to address this in a number of ways. The first is we're recognizing how early an interest in STEM takes hold, and more importantly, where it drops off. Middle school is when it becomes uncool for a lot of the kids to be smart. And for girls, it's when they start to believe this myth that girls don't do math. This is the perfect time for us to begin to reinforce the importance of STEM studies. At Qualcomm, we're strong supporters of programs that get kids into the workplace and provide them mentors and expose them to engineering careers. We try and show them how cool robotics can be, about the excitement that happens. We support a lot of great organizations that are out there, whether it's FIRST Robotics, the Barrio Logan College Institute, Reality Changers, and we're always looking for other programs that are going to ensure that every child out there has a source of inspiration, has a source of opportunity, and invests in our education system. We have a robust college intern program every summer. We have a program that brings parents so that they can see the opportunities that could be available for their children. And we're working closely with San Diego Unified to develop programs where every child has a chance to see the career path in front of them that is attainable for them, to attain some skills, to attain some help, and to know that there is a path and a better future. Now, I don't believe that every child should be pushed towards a STEM career. It's not every child's propensity. But every child should be STEM capable, and they should have the opportunity if that's the path that they want to go down. This would be truly equitable. By ensuring an investment in our education system, we can address so many of the inequities we see in the economic system. But it will take all of us coming together. That means our business community, our nonprofit community, our faith-based organizations of every denomination, our labor organizations. Everyone has to come together to figure out how we play a role in working together to address these problems to ensure that vital access to the American dream. That is the challenge of our era. It's the challenge of our time. As we come out of the greatest recession of our lifetime, as we see the inequity and the recovery, these are the things that I believe are most vital for us to address as a society moving forward. And we've demonstrated in the past that we can tackle these big, difficult challenges. It was actually around this time in 1952, 60 years ago, this month, the President John F. Kennedy laid out a goal to put a man on the moon. He thought it was in the scientific interest. He thought it was in the geopolitical interest. He thought there was a military advantage. There was a national pride region. But he said, we have to do this. And everyone said, you can't do it. It's impossible. It just simply can't be done. It was a scientific accomplishment of our all time. And it was difficult and it was hard, but he had leadership, he had vision, and he refused to accept what others said couldn't be done as what we could do moving forward. Today, we need to harness that same spirit. We need to harness that same spirit when we talk about the opportunities that need to be afforded to us. When we talk about the economy that we build to the future, when we talk about the education system that we build to the future, when we talk about the very basic belief of what it means to have opportunity in America, and we can do it. It won't be easy. If it was easy, it would already be done. But to paraphrase President Kennedy 60 years ago this month, he said, we choose to do these things not because they are easy, but because they are hard. Because the goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one that we intend to win. Every single one of us have got to commit ourselves to the goal of coming together to address these issues, to ensure that we provide opportunity for all of our children so that that American dream that allowed me to be the first one in my family to go to college, to be able to stand here before you today is alive and available for every one of our children moving forward. I know that we can do it, and I look forward to working with each and every one of you as we try and make that a reality. Thank you very, very much for letting me join you today. I appreciate it tremendously. Thank you.